The Leadership in Law podcast is powered by Law Marketing Zone. Transform your firm's digital presence with expert marketing solutions tailored exclusively for attorneys at lawmarketingzone.com.
Welcome to the Leadership in Law podcast with host Marilyn Jenkins. Cut through the noise, get actionable insights and inspiring stories delivered straight to your ears. Your ultimate podcast for navigating the ever-changing world of law firm ownership. In each episode, we dive deep into the critical topics that matter most to you, from unlocking explosive growth to building a thriving team. We connect you with successful firm leaders and industry experts who share their proven strategies and hard-won wisdom. So, whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting your journey as a law firm owner, the Leadership in Law podcast is here to equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to build a successful and fulfilling legal practice.
Welcome to another episode of the Leadership in Law podcast. I'm your host, Marilyn Jenkins. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Bo Royal, to the show today. Bo is a former Fortune 500 advertising agency executive turned law firm marketing expert. After holding leadership positions at eBay's Marketing Solutions division and scaling the online advertising revenues of a variety of well-known brands such as Calvin Klein, Bo pivoted to the world of legal marketing 7 years ago and never looked back. Today, Bo co-owns and operates Pareto Legal, a growth marketing agency positioned to help injury law firms add an extra 7 figures in cases to their pipeline via marketing strategy, conversion rate optimization, and analytics. I'm excited to have you here, Bo. Welcome.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Marilyn.
Absolutely. It looks like a very interesting background. Can you tell us a bit about your leadership journey?
Sure. I think I was thrust into my first leadership role a little bit earlier than most. You mentioned I spent time at eBay's Marketing Solutions division. When I was in my mid-20s, I was promoted to a director of PPC position there. I was essentially the head of PPC for eBay Marketing Solutions, and I was responsible for a team of 15 people. And I'll be frank with you, I was not prepared for that role. Probably shouldn't have promoted me, but you know what? Through that challenge and adversity, it did really help shape me into the leader and manager I am today. I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. But yeah, it was not like, I feel like I skipped a level there. We had someone leave the company and I rose at the opportunity and I was able to just experience things, endure things that people in their mid-20s don't typically experience and endure, right? Like hiring and building a team, having to own performance management, create roles, create KPIs and metrics for the roles, have the one-on-one meetings. There's an art to that in and of itself.
True.
And then doing the tough things too, performance improvement plans, and if need be, terminating employees as well if they're not meeting certain performance criteria. So I think I was doing all that stuff by the time I was 26, 27. And again, it was a lot for a kid that age that had only been really working full-time for about 5 years. But it certainly gave me the thick skin that you really need to effectively lead and manage people.
Exactly. Now, in that transition, obviously you were young and you were replacing someone. Were you given a coach or a mentor to help you through those types of things? Nope, sit in your pants.
It was baptism by fire. I was just thrown into the ring and I tried to push for more resources, more support, but it was really at a rough time in the agency where they were not making money in other parts of the business. And essentially we had to do more with less. And it just, honestly, it became the reason that I became disillusioned with the big agency life and working in a big corporate role like that. And it's why I ultimately did a 180 and I ended up joining a law firm back in 2018 as their CMO. And it's funny because when I was leaving eBay, one of the executives pulled me into their office I think they were trying to help me and mentor me a little bit. And basically told me you're making a big mistake. You've been working with Fortune 500 clients the first 5-6 years of your career. You're in a director level role already at 26, 27. to do this, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. And I think from a corporate company man perspective, he was probably right, but it was hands down the best decision I ever made. And I want to be clear, I left eBay not because I was just over working for big clients and all of the politics and all that stuff. I wanted to work with companies that I could see the fruits of my labor. I wasn't a small cog in a big wheel. And I also needed to start rounding out my channel knowledge in other areas. Like I had done some SEO work in the past previous to my time at eBay. There was all these other channels and things people were doing in digital marketing that I wanted to start getting my hands dirty in. Moving into that CMO position at the law firm not only introduced me to a new industry, it introduced me to a whole new set of channels that I could start getting my hands dirty with.
Great. So you actually expanded your horizons by leaving the big guys and doing it yourself.
Correct.
And the quality of life as well.
It's funny, yes and no, because what ended up happening when I left eBay, 2 of my then clients approached me and said, would you like to freelance for us? So that's when the entrepreneurial light bulb flicked on. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm good enough at doing this. I can just do this myself. I don't need to work in an agency. So while I was working at the law firm and gaining these on-the-job skills, I started building my own book of business and started having direct client relationships and helping them with their digital marketing. And I want to be clear, I was completely transparent with my boss at the time at the law firm and saying, hey, this is my primary focus, but like when I'm done your work for the day, I want to focus on building my own book. And he was super supportive. But it's funny because you said like the work-life balance or having a little bit more sanity in my day. That was true for the first like 3 to 6 months. And then within the first year, I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, which was not sustainable. And that's why I ended up bringing on a business partner. We created an LLC. And then that was really the foundation that was set for Pareto. That's how this whole thing started.
Okay, excellent. And at what point did you decide to focus on personal injury attorneys?
2 years ago. We had been working with a whole mix of businesses for the first 4 years. And we had some moment of clarity where we were looking at our book of business and we realized that our best clients in terms of like results were consistently law firms. And it was just because of doing certain basic things extremely well that our competitors weren't doing, which I can get into. But yeah, we made that decision 2 years ago. We started modifying our positioning and our website and our entire operations to focus solely on law firms and personal injury law firms in particular.
And you're focusing on PPC? Is that your main focus? Although you do the other, you do meta, of course, and SEO.
We do, yeah. Our superpower, we like to say, is digital advertising, conversion rate optimization, and analytics, that trifecta. We also offer SEO services. We do email marketing. We can do social media marketing as well. But our go-to-market, our sweet spot is digital advertising, which encompasses pay-per-click, paid social, display, video, so on and so forth.
Okay, excellent. I know PPC is very important for a lot of law firms. What makes PPC marketing different for PIs compared to other industry?
It's incredibly expensive. It's incredibly competitive. So with that, you need to make sure you're not only well capitalized to start making that investment, you need to be laser clear on what your goals are up front. I'll be frank, like we turn down a lot of prospective clients because we'll get on calls and they'll say things like, oh, we just need more leads. But then we peel back the curtain a little bit and we start asking questions like, how many cases do you need? What's your ideal client acquisition cost? Talk to me about how you're set up from an intake perspective. Tell me about your data infrastructure. Are you tracking these things? And within a few minutes, we can quickly determine whether or not we're going to be a good fit. The other thing I'll say too is in order to do digital advertising for PI firms, you need to have a well-rounded understanding of just like lead generation in general. You need to understand like the intersection of marketing to intake to operations and realize how vital intake is to the success of a campaign. And then you also need to be I alluded to this, you need to be willing to get your hands dirty with data and make sure that you set up the infrastructure such that it allows you to look back a day, a week, a month, a year later and look at your case pipeline and say, of the 100 cases I've opened, 50 of them came from paid per click. And that's all easier said than done. There's a lot of technical work that needs to happen in order to have that closed loop attribution. So those are like the two, I think, big things. Is on one hand, it's incredibly expensive. So if you're not well capitalized, you're not going to be able to play in that sandbox. And then two, you need to have a lot of knowledge and have to have done a lot of upfront work to make sure that, any incremental leads you're driving through pay-per-click, you're not going to let them fall through the cracks.
And that's where a lot happens, is the falling through the cracks. Yeah. Do you find that you determine whether a client's going to be a good client or not, depending on if they'll do the follow-up? Because I'm finding that some clients want to be handed checks and not actually do any follow-up calls or texts or anything.
Yes. So we actually start all of our engagements with an assessment. It's actually the precursor to becoming a longer-term client. We do what's called our Pareto score assessment, where we will actually look at the law firm holistically. And think of it like partly like a advertising readiness audit, right? Where we're actually coming in and asking some important questions about goals, intake, positioning, timelines, expectations, so on and so forth. And with that assessment, we will find a lot of opportunities for improvement with intake specifically. And it's funny that I'm talking about that because people try to put my agency in that like PPC and advertising box. They're like, oh yeah, you just do, why are you talking to me about intake? You just do PPC, you just do digital advertising. And it's like, there is no way for us to decouple intake from the work we're doing. Because if you're holding us accountable to case acquisition targets, which by the way, you should be, we need to be pushing you to ensure that you are handling every lead properly, that you have the right qualification criteria in place, that you've built a team that's actually doing this and you're not relying on yourself or other attorneys to be picking up the phone on nights and weekends or what have you. It's something we really try to vet out and stress up front so that we don't partner with a client that a quarter later or a year later, they're looking at their P&L, they're looking at their bottom line and they're like, why did I just drop 100, 200, 500 grand? I'm not seeing anything on the back end. I'm not seeing cases come through. Well, that's because those conversations didn't happen up front, right? So we really try to make sure that we're talking about that, not only on the first call, but we're talking about that when we do our assessments and we're talking about that before we even deliver a scope of work.
Excellent. And do you help with the training of the intake? Because that's one of the things that we've found that's been extremely helpful. We can either help with the training or set up a call center to handle the leads and that sort of thing to the ones that just don't have it in place.
The short answer is yes, but not in the sense where we're hopping on a call with each intake agent and coaching them. Where we're really adding value is in the tracking and the reporting, right? So we always like to say what gets measured gets managed, right? So we will help law firms track the right things in regards to their intake, speed to lead, qualified conversion rate by intake agent, by marketing source, so on and so forth. And just by having that clarity and knowing what's actually happening within your intake system, it will result in better decision-making and better actions. If you can see that the intake agent John has a 50% lower qualified conversion rate versus all of the other intake agents, that's a pretty clear signal that some coaching needs to be had there or something needs to be addressed. I think our value comes in the clarity we provide in our reporting, but we're not like jumping on calls and saying, hey, you need to deploy more empathy during the intro, or you need to call out more value propositions, or you need to qualify the leads faster and get off the phone if it's not qualified. Things of that nature, we're typically not doing very much of.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just making sure that they do the follow-up calls, that sort of thing. With AI and automations and stuff, how do you see Google Ads as evolving when you're looking at the future of the PPC?
I've gotten to witness this over the last 15 years. It's evolved completely. If you were still on to PPC tactics of 2010, you would be left in the dust by now, right? So much of the platform has become automated and reliant on AI, whether it's for targeting purposes, budgeting, bidding purposes, so on and so forth. And I just think the future is going to be a continuation and extrapolation of that. More specifically, I think more and more control will be removed from the advertisers. And it's going to put even more onus on the advertisers to make sure that their data is very clean. And the reason I say that is because we talk a lot about this with our clients. Google, Meta, all these advertising platforms are so powered by AI now that the quality of the campaign performance is reliant on the quality of the data that you feed back into it. Now, let me be more precise. We audit so many Google Ads accounts for law firms, and one of the first things we look at is, what are they considering a conversion? What are they considering a lead, right? And we'll look under the hood, and the common three are phone calls, form submits, live chats, right? That's just the common trifecta. But the reality is those aren't the best data signals for Google, because in that, you're going to get people, maybe you might get existing clients that are typing in your firm name, clicking on an ad, and then calling in, right? So you just gave not the best data signal to Google. You basically just trained them to target your ads to more current clients, right? Or maybe even worse, you might be tracking phone calls under 2 minutes and factoring in that to your conversion number, right? And so maybe it's a prank caller, or maybe it's a judge calling for a quick update on a case, or a doctor's office, or people that aren't even clients, right? The reason I bring that up is because one of the most common optimizations that we'll do with a new client is only track phone calls that are at least 2 minutes, right? That's just such a simple little addition or tweak you can make to your campaigns. And then what is that doing? That's sending a better data signal back to Google and saying, look, I don't care about all these calls under 2 minutes because frankly, they were junk. I only want you to get credit for calls that were 2+ minutes or longer. So that's just one example of how making sure your data hygiene, making sure your data integrity is strong can long-term yield very strong results for your ad campaign. So I know that's a very long-winded answer, but the best way that you can position your law firm for this AI-dominated future, specifically from a Google advertising perspective, is get your data clean and send the best data you can back to Google, because the performance relies on it.
Excellent. So be very intentional about where you're telling Google that is working for you, what you want.
Yes.
Yeah, because they are rolling more and more AI stuff out. It's very interesting. So thinking about personal injury, PI, obviously super expensive for personal injury, but also can be super rewarding. What are the biggest mistakes that you find that firms are making when it comes to tracking their PPC performance right now?
It's a really good question. For one, they are not logging all of their leads somewhere. So if your intake team is still using their inbox, they're still using Outlook or Gmail to capture all the leads, that's a recipe for disaster. You're putting way too much trust in your intake people. So every single lead that comes through needs to be logged somewhere. Even if it's a junk lead, it needs to be logged somewhere so that what was done with it, that's like square one.
Because Google Sheet, that's horrible, but at least that's something.
Exactly. At least it's something, right? But I would tell any law firm listening, if you're still using your inbox as your lead management system, you need to do some work now. Google Sheets would be like minimal viable product. Ideally, you're using a lead management software or even your CRM, or there's softwares that do both, right? But make sure that you're getting that information automatically logged into a software so that you can see the 1,000-foot view of everything that's coming in, right? The other thing is make sure that you have call tracking and web analytics in place. So we love CallRail. I recommend every firm use CallRail. There's other tools that do similar things, but CallRail is probably the most user-friendly and just reliable solution for call tracking. And that call tracking needs to be done across pretty much all of your marketing assets, right? Like it not only needs to be added to your ad campaigns, it needs to be added to your Google business profile, it needs to be added to your social media profiles, it needs to be incorporate it in your website. And there's something really cool in CallRail called dynamic number insertion that basically rotates a pool of numbers and enables CallRail to attribute a phone call back to a marketing source or a marketing campaign or even a keyword, right? So getting the data is so paramount to your long-term success, right? I know I'm a broken record on that, but it's the truth. So CallRail is really important. And then in terms of web analytics, Google Analytics 4, it's free. It is like the most industry-wide or adopted platform for web analytics, knowing where your website traffic is coming from by geography or by marketing source. That's an invaluable tool. And then I would say the last one's a little more advanced, but making sure that you are putting some unique tracking parameters into your CRM. So I'll give an example. If someone clicked on a Google ad and let's say that lead turned into a lead and then that lead turned into a case, you want to make sure that either a UTM parameter is what it's called or a Google Click ID is automatically pasted into the case matter. So that way, when the case settles in a year or 3 years or 5 years, you can attribute that revenue back to the marketing campaign, right? And if you don't do that, what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up pulling the wrong lever one day and wondering, oh my goodness, why did my pipeline just start drying up? Why did I stop generating cases? Yeah, I know it's a lot of the same things I'm saying, but this is why getting the data infrastructure and making sure that your data is reliable and accurate is so paramount to your marketing success.
I know you say you keep repeating yourself, and you do, but at the same time, it's super important. It was super hard to get the tracking in place to make sure it was working correctly. Now we have many more options. And it is important to know so that you don't kill the good ad, the ad that's actually working, especially if you got this data over a long period of time and one is working really well. Keep track of that. Now, when you talk about CallRail, I absolutely agree, having a different number on different things. Two questions on that. Do you list your CallRail number as the second number on your Google business profile so that your NAP across the internet stays the same with your main front office number? And do you have a different CallRail number for each campaign that you're running in PPC?
We typically will make sure that there is a unique number set up for each Google business profile asset. But there's still a way to do that ensures NAP consistency. And then what was the second part of your question? Sorry.
In your PPC campaign, so you probably have campaigns literally broken out by MVA or trip and fall or whatever. So each of the different things, for the tracking purposes, do you have a different phone number in each of those campaigns?
Yes. And you can do that math in your head. Once you add more and more campaigns, it compounds the number of phone numbers, right? And that's okay. That's going to give you back invaluable data in a quarter or a year or a couple years, right? But yeah, what ends up happening is over time, you might have somewhere in the range of 50 to 100 plus tracking numbers that enable you to, again, attribute the cases that are open back to a marketing campaign or a keyword, right?
And I know this sounds super complicated, but once the campaign sends the data, it's there. You already have it. Then you just compile and analyze it. So it may sound difficult to set up, but in the end, it's done one time and it's working.
Agreed. And I just want to say something that's really important in regards to all of this data stuff. You as the law firm need to maintain ownership of these platforms that track everything. You need to maintain ownership of your data. Do not work with a marketing partner or vendor that is going to claim ownership of these things, because what's going to happen is if you try to leave them in a year or 3 years or 5 years, you're going to lose all of that invaluable information about what's working in your firm, what's not working, where are cases coming from, so on and so forth. Word of caution for any law firm that's considering working with a marketing vendor: make sure that you read the fine print, make sure that you maintain ownership of even other things like your website, your advertising channels, like all of that. It is unfortunate that I have to keep bringing that up in sales calls or on podcasts, but it is a common practice still in this industry to have marketing agencies say, if we work with you, we're going to build a website and we're going to set up these accounts and it's all going to be under our name. And if you try to leave us, you're going to either lose all this or you're going to have to buy it back from us. It's like the equivalent of the marketing agency is building a house for you on land that they own. It's not
like holding you hostage. I can't,
Yeah.
Obviously we both went through many clients that we've had to try to extricate from other, and some you never get your website back, or it's crazy. And I am super clear with people. You must own your own work. Anytime we do websites for somebody, it's yours. You buy, it's an IP that you own. You have to have that.
great.
Yeah, that's crazy for me. And I've been doing digital marketing since the 90s, and it was an issue back then. And it's just crazy that in this day and age, it still is an issue. But no, I absolutely agree with you. Let's talk a little bit, and I just want to be respectful of your time, but let's talk a little bit about landing pages. So with Google with Google PPC, you have to have a landing page for the leads to go to. So obviously continuity of messaging, that sort of thing. What role does a landing page optimization play in a successful campaign? And what do you consider some of the must-have elements of that page?
Hey, lawyers, are you losing cases to firms online that aren't even better attorneys than you? They're just better at marketing. Most law firms are nearly invisible online. If you're not showing up in the Google Map pack, if your ads aren't converting, or if you're constantly waiting on referrals, you're leaving money on the table. At Law Marketing Zone, we've helped clients go from 0 to over 20 cases a month. And we put our top strategies into a quick, free checklist, the Law Firm Marketing Fix. 10 ways to stop losing clients online. Download it right now for free. You'll discover the biggest mistakes most firms are making and how to fix them fast. Then, if you're ready, book a free strategy call and we'll walk through the gaps in your current marketing. Don't wait for referrals. Start attracting your ideal clients today. Click to get the checklist now.
The landing pages are paramount to the success of any ad campaign. The reason for that is because the landing page is ultimately the thing that gets them to convert. Now, mind you, I'm not going to talk about call-only ads or call extensions. People can still call your law firm based on the number that's shown in the ad, but for the majority of people, they're going to click through and they need to, there's some fundamental things that need to happen. Number one, the site needs to load or the landing page needs to load lightning fast. Under 3 seconds is the benchmark. Any extra second after that, you're just going to see an increase in bounce rate, a decrease in conversion rate, right? So super fast load time. You need to make sure that the landing page matches the intent of the keyword that is being targeted, right? I'll mention something we see all the time. Law firms spending 30, 50, 100 grand a month on PPC, and they're pushing all of their traffic to the homepage. The homepage should not be where someone typing in personal injury lawyer near me is landing, right? Like they need to land on a practice area specific page that's conversion optimized that establishes that you are a personal injury lawyer near them, right? It's pretty simple stuff. So make sure that the landing page matches the intent of the keyword. With that, you also need to make sure that the firm has very clear and engaging value propositions that are highlighted on that page. These are really your selling points. These are the reasons that a prospective client would want to hire you, right? So you can show your reviews, you can talk about settlement values, anything that you can call out to differentiate or one up your competitors. That page should really do that in a clear and engaging way, right? So make sure that you have the value props. And then the last two things, you need to have multiple contact methods: phone call, live chat, form submit. We'd recommend some combination of that, if not all of them. And then click to call functionality is incredibly important too, because let's face it, most of your traffic is going to come from mobile users. If they're ready to talk to you, make it incredibly easy for them to press a button and get on the phone with someone on your intake team.
That is the hottest lead you can get. Exactly.
Yep. Those are really the big 5 things that we are telling all of our clients, and we're helping them implement them.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the landing pages, I too am just amazed when people are sending all their advertising traffic to their homepage. There's too many distractions. If what he said is not clear, there's too many distractions on your homepage. A landing page has one job: contact us or go away. That's it. We want it to produce a lead.
Depending on the keyword intent, right? Like we do also run ad campaigns that are not going to go after solution aware traffic or bottom of funnel traffic. Maybe we're going to target some keywords that are more informational, like what to do after a car accident, right? So that might be someone further up in the funnel.
Are you doing like a lead magnet type thing for that?
Lead magnet, or it could just be a means to bolster like a retargeting audience, right? Just to get them into your funnel and then start hitting them on Meta or TikTok, so on and so forth, right? But in that example, push them on a page that answers what to do after a car accident, right? Don't force them onto that like conversion optimized practice area page that I just mentioned. Let the page answer the question that is being asked, or let it match the intent of the searcher. I like smile and laugh about it because it is made to be so complicated by people sometimes. It really is that simple. Make sure that the ad matches the intent of the keyword and make sure that the landing page matches the intent of the keyword. If you have that perfect triangle of alignment in terms of the intent, you're going to get better click-through rate on your ads. You're going to get actually a lower cost per click because Google incentivizes advertisers to provide the most quality user experiences, right? Because they want more and more people to click on the ads. That's their whole business model. And then they're going to land on a page that matches the intent. And guess what? They're going to call you at a higher rate. If someone types in car accident attorney, Philadelphia, PA, and you land them on a page that establishes you are a car accident attorney in Philadelphia, PA, right?
Yeah. So what we're saying is, depending on the intent of the campaign, you can have multiple landing pages, but one focuses on that message. I love that. And that is so true. Again, don't send traffic to your own page. So I really appreciate your time today. What if anyone is listening, what's the one takeaway you'd like for them to take away from this episode?
Get your data in order. Don't sleep on your data. It's not only going to improve the performance of your marketing, it's going to cascade into your operations. And with AI and more AI adoption coming, AI is going to rely on that data to help you as the law firm owner or operator execute on better decisions, make better decisions, gain insights, so on and so forth. The way I think about it is like you're taking things from the real world and you're digitizing them so that AI can help with it, right? And so start tracking. Like that really is square one. Start tracking things. And it's amazing. I'll talk to prospective law firm clients and on an intro sales call, and I'll ask basic questions like, what is your conversion rate on qualified leads? And I'll get a blank stare. What do you mean? What's qualified lead? And I'm like, yeah, that's a good question. What is a qualified lead at your law firm? And clearly they're not tracking these things, right? So much can be gained from just starting to track this information. It's only going to make you more potent as an owner operator. So that would be the big thing. Just get your data in order.
Fantastic. I love this. This has been a great conversation. Bo, I know my listeners they may reach out to you, connect with you. Where can they connect with you to learn more?
Yeah, check us out, legal.paretopppc.com. I also run my own podcast, the Pareto Legal Podcast. You can just look us up on YouTube. But yeah, I'm always happy to talk shop and see if we can help with all things digital advertising.
Awesome. Make sure we have all that in the show notes. And again, this has been a great conversation, Bo. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me on, Marilyn. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining me today for this episode. As we wrap up, I'd love for you to do two things. First, subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you find value here, I'd love it if you would rate it and review it. That really does make a difference in helping other people to discover this podcast. Second, you can connect with me on LinkedIn to keep up with what I'm currently learning and thinking about. And if you're ready to take the next step with a digital strategist to help you grow your law firm, I'd be honored to help you. Just go to lawmarketingzone.com to book a call with me. Stay tuned for our next episode next week. Until then, as always, thanks for listening to Leadership in Law Podcast, and be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next episode.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Leadership in Law Podcast. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. There's a whole community of law firm owners out there facing similar challenges and striving for the same success. Head over to our website at lawmarketingzone.com. From there, connect with other listeners, access valuable resources, and stay up to date on the latest episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, keep leading with vision and keep growing your firm.